Oh, hello. Thank you for joining me for Veg with Lisa live. I'm Lisa. These are most definitely some vegetables, and this is very definitely live television. I don't know how anybody does it. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. But before I get started, I was running a few minutes late. So somebody say hi, type in the comments, let me know that you're here and that you can see me and that you can hear me. And so, oh, good, thank you. And so I know I'm not just talking to my white sweet potato. Yes, I'm so excited. Hi, Susan. We're going to talk today about potatoes. Yay or nay? What do you think? You say yay, I say no. Emily, oh, I've missed you, beanhead. You say potato, I say potato. Uh, you know, then half the time we're arguing about whether potatoes are good for us or not good for us. And so then we don't eat any potatoes and we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, I want to clear that up today. Hi, Ann. Hi, Bet. Thanks for joining. We're going to talk about potatoes, yay or nay, but I'm just going to come right out with it right now. Yay, potatoes! Yay, potatoes! All different kind of potatoes. Potatoes, white potatoes, red potatoes, yellow potatoes, purple potatoes, blue potatoes. Hi, Veronica. All kinds of potatoes. Yay! And I'm going to show you once I get started cooking how to make an amazing dairy-free yet creamy white sweet potato soup. And I'm going to use these beauties. This is one of my absolute favorite kind of potatoes, and it is the Japanese variety Murasaki or something like that. I think I don't speak Japanese, so if I butchered that name, somebody can fact check me on that. Anyway, so let's get to cooking, and I'm going to show you some really cool stuff. Creamy white sweet potato soup, dairy free. I want to point out one quick thing before I start cooking. You can use any kind of potato for this recipe. I've used regular old white potatoes. I've used red potatoes. I've used any color of sweet potatoes, orange ones, purple ones. And now I'm going to show you how to make this amazing soup with these white sweet potatoes. So let's get to cooking. I'm going to turn you down here and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I am a yay on potatoes. Well, first of all, how did all this misinformation get started? Oh, it feels like a Monday in in my technology world. Oh my goodness. How did all of this misinformation about potatoes? There we go. I hope you can see me down here. How did all of this misinformation about potatoes get started? Well, I'm afraid it got started from French fries and mashed potatoes with loads of butter and cream and potato chips. Yummy in my belly. Those things are good, but they're not exactly good for us, are they? So, my, one of my most favorite kitchen appliances, if we call this an old school kitchen appliance, my red pot that my mother gave me for Christmas. Thank you very much. And I'm going to I'm going to add a little bit of avocado oil. I'm using that these days for my sauteing. And to my pot, I'm going to add, you could use an onion. I'm using a shallot because I happen to have one and I like the mild flavor of shallots. I'm also going to toss in some fresh ginger. This is the ginger over here. Ginger. How's ginger, by the way, Emily? And some chopped garlic. Yep. So I really like this recipe for this time of the year because it's still winter, it's February, and it can be kind of cold, and there's not a ton of fresh produce yet in the farmer's market, at least where I live here in North Carolina. And yet, spring is in the air. The birds are chirping. My daffodils are up. My primrose is just about to pop. So, I'm going to add to the wintry feeling of the potato soup some fresh green herbs. So, I really like this recipe because it kind of hits both seasons. So let's talk about this beauty, this Murasaki, this Japanese white sweet potato. Aha, yes. Thank you, Susan. Do you like my apron? My mother made it. Um, this is really cool because it's kind of a purpley looking potato in disguise. It's got this bright, it's not too bright, but kind of a purplish magenta hue on the outside. And then look what happens. Oh, I need to sharpen my knives. When we cut it open, it's creamy white, almost like a little gold hue, a little champagne color. So I just think that they are so cool, if for no other reason than that. It's a little bit of an expected excitement in the kitchen when you chop into this potato. Okay, so I really am not going to do much. I maybe we'll chop off that little stem end. This I already washed this. This is really looks really clean. The skin is really nice. So especially if your potatoes are organic, I don't think you need to peel them. And I like to leave the skin on because a lot of times you may probably already know this that the vitamins and minerals are right underneath the skin. Plus, I like that magenta color and I like the fleck of color it's going to give to our soup. So I'm going to toss some my chunks of sweet potatoes in here. So the truth about potatoes is that they are good for us for a variety of reasons. They're a good source of vitamin C. And I'm going to speak generally now about potatoes and their health benefits. Woo, baby, that's getting a little hot. We are cooking with some heat. I'm going to add, I like to add, can you hear that? I like to add salt to the veggies when they're sauteing. It brings out a little bit of the moisture, and I like to layer my flavor as I go. Anyway, I'm going to speak about potatoes in general. And of course, it would be slightly different for each variety of potato, the nutritional benefits. But vitamin C is one big benefit of potatoes. Vitamin E, which is another antioxidant. And these antioxidants, all antioxidants, but since we're talking about potatoes today, specifically vitamin C and E, which are in potatoes, they're like vacuum cleaners for those nasty free radicals that float around and can cause disease, specifically cancer. So these potatoes are full of antioxidants that gobble up those bad guys out of your system. They also are really good for your heart. Lots of studies show that potatoes are good for helping lower hypertension, high blood pressure, just great for cardiovascular disease in general. Hi, Darren. Okay, so I'm going to throw my potatoes in here. And these little ends I'm going to save and put in my next batch of veggie broth that I make. Oh, baby, these are going really, really well. Okay, so to this, I'm going to add some water, just some regular old filtered water. Whoop. I think I need a little bit more than that. Oh, phew. The sound kind of calmed down. That is making me feel a little bit better about it all. And there's really nothing to this. I've sauteed the veg in a little bit of avocado oil because that's what I'm using these days. You could use olive oil. I've got my aromatics. That's a fancy French word for things that smell good when you cook them. I used shallots. You could use onions. You could use leeks. Leeks would be nice and springy if you've got them where you live. What else did I put in here? Garlic, Emily, garlic for you, and chopped fresh ginger. Okay. I added some salt, and then I will put the lid on my red soup pot. And I'm going to set that aside so that I can show you what I've previously done. And this is not going to be the most exciting looking thing, but woo, yeah, I'm getting a white sweet potato facial. You might be curious. Oh, you know what? Hold on. All of your favorite things, Emily. Yeah, onions, garlic, and ginger. I forgot to get my other most favorite kitchen appliance. So I'm going to talk to you, but stay here. I'll be right back. So you might be curious about the flavor of these white sweet potatoes. And I think that they're kind of like most sweet potatoes. I'm back with one of my other favorite kitchen appliances. I think they're a little bit sweeter than regular potatoes. And these Murasaki sweet potatoes, oh my gosh, when you cook them, they get almost like this toasty, like roasted marshmallow taste to them. I think they're absolutely magical. It's almost like they're drier and moister, so that when you cook them on a high heat, I also like to just cut them in half and put them on a pan and roast them. They brown really, really well and really quickly. It's probably from the natural sugars in the potato, which brings me to another point that we often think that we shouldn't be eating these potatoes because they're a carb and carb is a bad word and all that. Again, bull honky. That is bull honky, I tell you, bull honky. White sweet potatoes and sweet potatoes in general are what we call a complex carbohydrate, and they're medium to low on the glycemic index scale. So that means that they don't spike your blood sugar the way those French fries are. I'm telling you, potatoes got a bad rap from all the junk food that we turn them into. What else did I want to tell you about sweet potatoes, potatoes in general? Fiber, a really, really good source of fiber, which is what helps slow down the absorption of those natural sugars in our system. So another reason that you don't have to worry about eating potatoes. Okay, so I've got my already cooked potatoes here with some onions. Well, I use shallots. Where's my, there we go. If you do not have an immersion blender, this is one of my most favorite kitchen appliances along with my red pot. Hi, Cousin Mildred. How are you? How are things in Wales? We are making white sweet potato soup, creamy white sweet potato soup, dairyless creamy white sweet potato soup. So it looks like I need a little bit more liquid. Now, I did just use water for this recipe. You could use broth if you had it, but I believe it's flavorful enough as it is. And you have to try it for yourself and see. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. That's kind of annoying. I already added some salt. I'm not going to add more until I taste it. Some freshly cracked black pepper. And now I promised that this would be creamy. Where did my cream go? Here it is. Okay, so here is my non-dairy milk, dairy-free. I like to make my own because I have an almond cow. You do not have to do that. The original inspiration for this recipe called for a can of coconut milk. You can absolutely use coconut milk. Here's the deal with coconut milk. This is another myth I want to bust right here and now. Kind of like that potatoes make you fat and they're bad for you, because neither of those are true. Well, if you ate nothing but French fries, they would probably make you fat and unhealthy. Coconut is not necessarily a health food either. Coconut milk is high in saturated fat. In fact, I like to buy, when I do buy coconut milk, I do buy the low fat coconut milk, and I look for, it's hard to find, but a brand that has nothing but coconut and water. So this happens to be from Trader Joe's, which I'm not affiliated with in any way other than I do like to shop there sometimes. Rob loves it. And the ingredients on this low fat coconut milk are water and organic coconut. That's what you want to look for when you're buying anything in a can, is few ingredients as possible. But what I really like about this, if you're going to use canned coconut milk, and I'll tell you why I did not in a moment, this only has, gosh, I can barely see it with my glasses on. I'm holding it far away. This has 6 grams of saturated fat per fourth cup serving, okay? That is compared with the full fat coconut milk, which has 11 grams of saturated fat per fourth cup serving. So double, right? And saturated fat is not our friend. We do need fats. We do need healthy fats. And a little bit of saturated fat is okay, but too much saturated fat clogs up your arteries and it is not good for you. Period. End of story. Myth bust. So bust it. So I'm not going to use that. I'm using some homemade milk because I'm not a huge fan of using a ton of coconut stuff. And I do like to make curries, which use my coconut milk. So I don't want to blow all my coconut milk budget in my soup. So I made some cashew coconut milk from scratch because I have an almond cow. I used almost all cashews, and then I put just a little bit of coconut in for flavor. And that's what I did. If you don't have an almond cow, you can make your own non-dairy milk with a blender or a Vitamix, or you can buy it. If you buy it, read your labels because they can be full of junk. Okay, so I'm going to combine this. Ooh, there's a big chunk of potato that didn't get eaten up. Okay, cool. And then I talked to you about these springy greens that I was going to use. I've got some fennel because I had a hunk of fennel in there, fennel fronds, and parsley. You could use cilantro. Think light, think springy. And I like to do this at the very end with my little favorite utensil here, my favorite appliance, because then you've got all those really pretty flecks of spring green in your soup, but you don't want them to cook. Look at that. It's nice and bright and fresh. Oh, I'm so excited. So let's see here. I'm just going to spoon this out with my cup. Creamy Japanese white sweet potato soup. And remember, you can use absolutely any kind of potatoes in this recipe. And because I'm always about a little bit more green is better, mo better, I've got some broccoli sprouts. Speaking of antioxidants, broccoli sprouts are, I think, about the highest source we know these days of a compound called sulforaphane, which is a massive cancer killer as well. Doesn't this look fantabulous? Okay, what do you think? Potatoes, yay or nay? After you taste the soup, you're going to say yay. Absolutely. Just sweet enough, savory with those herbs, and just a little bit spicy with that garlic and ginger. Let me know. What do you think? Yay or nay? Thank you for joining me for Veg with Lisa. Live, it's lunchtime. I'm going to call Robbie for lunch. See you next week.